One, go.
Hello, all. Welcome to the Pension Town Hall, where we will be covering the topics on separation from service and pre-retirement essentials. I'm Denise Gustin Gardella, and I'm in the Client Services and Outreach of the Pension Fund in Geneva, and I'm accompanied by Dilbar Miradova, who's in the Pension Fund's office in New York. So together we'll be presenting the material today. This is a 3-hour session in English with one 10-minute break. And we will also have a few quizzes and hope that that will make it a bit more interactive and help you grasp some of the material that we're covering, because it will be quite a lot of material. The recording of this presentation will be available on the Pension Fund's website, along with the slide presentation. So in case you're wondering, you will be able to access a copy of all of the slides and the recording of this presentation. We have a dedicated place on our website where we will show you this information is available. So in our presentation today, we'll be covering, as I said, information on the separation process, the pension benefits that you will have as options when you separate, the separation process, and the toolkit that we have where you can learn more about the fund and the benefits and the future benefit that you will have. During the presentation, we'll also have our colleagues ready to assist you on the Q&A. So we have colleagues not just in New York and Geneva, but we have also pension fund liaison offices in Bangkok and Nairobi. And some of our colleagues are in all of these locations here, ready to answer your questions in the Q&A. We do ask you to please perhaps wait to see if your question is answered during the presentation. But if you have something that wasn't answered or isn't clear, you can put your question in the Q&A, but please keep it general enough that it's not going to require someone to look into your specific file and that it wouldn't contain personal information. So please do not put your pension number or your unique ID in your question. And just be aware that these will be published where everyone can see them. The presentation, as I said, will also have a break. And somewhere in the second half, we will also post a survey. So we would like your feedback on how we're doing in these presentations, and so that we can make them better. So please, you'll see the survey link in the Q&A, and you have to click the link and open it in another browser. You don't have to complete it while we're in the middle of the session, but if you don't access the link during the session, you will lose the opportunity to access the survey. We will post it throughout the presentation, so you won't have to scroll back to only one place to find the link. And I think I've covered those ground rules. So we wanted to start off with some little bit of interactive activity. So if you would, you could aim your phone at the QR code, or you can also see the question here, so that you can let us know What words or thoughts come to mind when you think about your retirement?
The link to join the quiz is on the Q&A.
Thank you. Freedom. How will I fund my retirement? Receiving my entitlements. Travel. Tension. Peace. Oh, there's a wide variety of thoughts. Anticipation, excitement, turning a page, more time for myself, happiness, no pressure, boredom, family time, new chapter. I don't think I can keep up with them all. This is right. Will I have enough money? I hope today you'll see how you'll be able to find out what your pension benefit will be when you separate. So that's part of the goal of today. More time for myself, no more top instructions. Anxiety, worry, excited, wisdom. So I see a wide variety of feedback. So some of you are really excited and looking forward to a new chapter, and others anticipate stress and boredom and wondering if you'll have enough money and what the cost of healthcare will be. Yeah. So with our presentation, I do hope that this will help somewhat so that you can at least see from the pension fund what type of benefit you will receive when you separate, and that could help in your planning. Dilbar will present the first part of the presentation, and I will take over after the break. So I'm going to turn over to you, Dilbar. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback.
Yeah, thank you, Denise, and thank you all for sharing your thoughts. Whether you're looking forward to this phase or feeling a bit apprehensive, please know that we are here to support you in any way we can. And as Denise mentioned, we hope that this session will equip you with the knowledge and understanding necessary to transition to retirement with confidence. All right, so we'll start today's presentation by reminding you some of the key definitions and factors that will help you navigate your pension, because the language that we use in the pension fund tends to be very technical. And we'll start off with the date of entry. Date of entry into the fund means the date on which you first became a participant in the fund. Your date of entry into the fund determines your normal and early retirement ages. So based on when you qualify to become a pension fund participant, you will have a certain normal and a certain early retirement age. It also impacts other factors like early retirement reduction factors. Not everyone in the fund has the same date of entry, and therefore not everyone has the same normal and early retirement age, or the same necessarily early retirement reduction factors applied. And then we have contributor service. That is the period during which you actively participate in the fund. And being an active participant means that you are paying contributions. And the longer your contributory service is, the better. Why? Because the length of your contributory service translates into something that we call rate of accumulation, which I will talk about in the next slide. And then there is concept of vesting. You will earn vested pension rights once you have reached 5 years of contributor service in the fund, meaning you will earn the right to elect a form of a lifelong retirement benefit from the fund when you separate from service. Rate of accumulation. That is a percentage rate, which is a reflection of the length of you having paid contributions to the fund up to your separation date. So the longer your contributory service, the higher your rate of accumulation is. And for retirement benefits, the higher your rate of accumulation, the higher your retirement benefit will be. The standard rate of accumulation is determined by your date of entry into the fund. And the maximum standard rate of accumulation attainable is 70% of your final average remuneration. If your date of entry is after 1 January 1983, then you can attain the maximum rate of accumulation after working and contributing for 38.75 years. If you work longer than that and be an active participant of the fund, then you will simply increase your final average remuneration, which I will talk about next. You will also increase your contribution and interest, which will impact the amount of your lump sum that you can take, but your rate of accumulation will remain the same, that is 70%. Here are some examples of how to calculate the rate of accumulation. As mentioned by Denise, this presentation will be shared with you, so you can look at these examples after the session. Another important factor when we calculate future retirement benefit, but also when we determine the amount that you have to pay to the fund as your contributions, is your pensionable remuneration, PR rates, as we call them. Pensionable remunerations rates are basically a reflection of your grade and step, meaning pensionable remuneration is the scale used to calculate your monthly pension contributions to the fund based on your grade and step. Every grade and step has an associated pensionable remuneration. And for professional staff, PR rates are the same per grade and step across the UN pension fund system. So whether you're working as a P3 step 8 in New York for UN or in Geneva, or working for peacekeeping, it doesn't matter. Regardless of where you work, for which organization you work, what is your family status is, whether you work in a dangerous duty station or not, regardless of all that, the same pensionable remuneration rate will apply. And that's for professional staff. For local and general staff, pensionable remuneration is equal to your gross salary plus pensionable allowance if applicable. So for professional staff, it's based on the scale determined by the International Civil Service Commission, and for local and general service staff, pensionable remuneration is equal to your gross salary. And again, we will look at everyone's pensionable remuneration to determine their contribution to the fund month after month. That is, you will contribute an amount that is proportionate and reflecting your grade and step. Someone at a higher level will pay more contribution than someone at the lower level. And the last important point to remember is that pensionable remuneration is not the amount you will receive from the fund in the future, but it is the amount that we use for pension purposes. On this page here on the left, you will see a pensionable remuneration table that is published by International Civil Service Commission for professional categories. And on the right hand side, you have a salary slip for a P5 step 6. So in November, this participant was a P5 step 6, and their pensionable remuneration is on the top left corner, mentioned as $218,528 US. It is used to calculate the 7.9% contribution share you have to pay as a participant. So in this example, this participant has to pay 7.9% of that annual amount of pensionable remuneration of $218,528. And since it is payable monthly, to calculate the contribution share for that month, you would take the pensionable remuneration, which is again, it's an annual amount provided in the scale, and divide that by 12, and then take 7.9% of that amount. This participant in this example paid $1,438 of pension contribution in November 2020, and twice that amount was paid by the organization. Pensionable remuneration is also key in determining your future retirement, disability, or surviving spouse's benefit. Because in order to calculate any periodic benefit, we will have to look at what was your or the deceased staff member's final average remuneration level at the time of the separation. And how do we determine this final average remuneration? We determine it by looking at the last 60 months of your contributor service in the fund, and by picking out of those 60 months, the highest 36 months of pensionable remuneration. Usually that is the last 36 months of your service, but not always. We will take the best 36 months of your pensionable remuneration during the last 60 months of 5 years of your contributor service. We will average those 36 months and obtain a final average pensionable remuneration, which we call FAR, which will be used to calculate any form of a periodic benefit, meaning a benefit payable in monthly installments for life, such as retirement benefits. So a basic pension calculation for periodic benefit, specifically for retirement benefits, will use these key factors: the rate of accumulation, which is a reflection of the length of your contributor service, multiplied by your final average remuneration. And with that, we will obtain your entitlement amount, your base entitlement amount. We will also check your age at the time of separation, because depending on your age, that will determine what kind of benefits you can elect. So again, by checking your age, we will determine whether you're entitled to a normal retirement benefit or to an early retirement benefit or a deferred retirement benefit. So again, when we calculate any form of periodic benefit, the rate of accumulation and the final average remuneration are key. And of course, the period of contributor service is also important, because we first have to check whether you actually acquired pension rights, whether you met the 5-year requirement to be vested, and therefore have the option to elect a form of a periodic retirement benefit rather than just a withdrawal settlement. Another important term to understand is normal retirement age. So I mentioned already that your normal retirement age is based on the date when you become a participant of the pension fund. So what is the normal retirement age? It is the age determined under the pension fund regulations and rules as the age at which, if you have vested pension rights, if you separate at or after normal retirement age, you are entitled to a normal retirement benefit, meaning a benefit to which no reduction factor needs to be applied because you have reached that age. But if you were to separate before reaching normal retirement age, and we start to pay you a benefit before you reach normal retirement age, so that could be either an early or deferred retirement benefit. In that case, the pension fund will have to apply a so-called early retirement reduction factor. We will have to reduce your entitlement by a certain percentage rate for life to compensate for the fact that you start to receive a benefit before having reached a normal retirement age. And just a heads up here, I will talk about early retirement benefit and reduction factors later during the presentation. Currently, there are 3 normal retirement ages for pension purposes, and depending on when it depends on when you entered into an active participation in the fund. For example, in my case, I joined the fund in 2011, and therefore my normal retirement age is 62, and my early retirement age is 55. And then finally, we currently have 2 early retirement ages, 55 for those who joined the fund before 2014 and 58 for those who joined since 2014. And what does that mean? That means that anyone who separates at an age between their early and their normal retirement age, so younger than normal retirement age, but at least early retirement age or older, anyone could then opt for an early retirement benefit and start receiving payments under the early retirement benefit if that's what they elect. And again, I will talk about all these options later in details. On the other hand, mandatory age of separation is the age that is set under the staff regulations of your employing organization, not the pension fund, as the date at which you must separate from service and you can no longer work. It's important to understand that the fund has nothing to say about up to what age you are allowed to work. So that mandatory age of separation is determined by your employing organization alone. So again, in my example, my mandatory age of separation is 65, which means that I can work till 65. My normal retirement age for pension purposes is still 62. Why? Because I joined the fund in 2011, and based on the pension regulations and rules in place at that time, my normal retirement age is 62. So I could say at age 62 or any age after, I want to separate from service, and I would be entitled to elect a normal retirement benefit that would not have a reduction factor included. So in other words, as of my normal retirement age, I could leave and be entitled to receive a retirement benefit without reduction factor. So I can be younger than my mandatory age of separation and still be entitled to my normal retirement benefit, since my normal retirement age is 62. Now, where can you check all these factors for your own case? All this information that is relevant to calculate benefit and determine eligibility is included in your pension statement, which is published every year inside your member self-service account under the Documents tab. That statement will give you the overview of your status with the fund since you joined till the year end to the year when we published it. So for example, the most recent one we published was in 2023. That statement gives you an overview for your period of participation since you joined till the year end 2022. The details for 2023 cannot be included in the pension statement because we have year-end reporting and we cannot update that information until we have received that data. So your 2023 pension statement will be available later this year, sometime in May. So if you look at your statement, the most recent one available in your records at this time, you would see that it provides you with the overview till year end 2022 from the time that you joined. Please make sure that you check your statements to be clear on what is the data that we have on file for you, as it was reported to us by your employing organization. It will provide your name, your date of birth. So make sure that to check all that and make sure that it's correctly spelled, the date is correct, your marital status is correctly reflected. And then on the top right corner, your NRA, your normal retirement age. You could also verify that it aligns with your date of entry into participation under Section B. Please make sure that your beginning contributor service date, please be aware that it might be different from your date of entry if you availed yourself of validation, restoration, or transfer-in options. However, as mentioned many times by now, your date of entry will determine your normal and early retirement ages. And then in terms of contributor service, here you will see the total contributor service you acquired since you joined the fund. On the right of that, you will see your leave without pay or break-in service as applicable to your case. So in this example, this participant had 15 years and 4 months of contributory service and 1 month and 23 days of non-contributory service. And then finally, under Section C, the contribution part, you will see only your own contribution. That is the amount that you contributed plus the interest you earned on the amount of your contributions. And on the right side, under Section E, you see your annual pensionable remuneration. That is a history or an overview of your historic pensionable remuneration rate for the period listed, as many as we could fit here. So you know based on what PR rates the fund received your contributions. So with this, I finished covering what I wanted to cover for this part. For detailed information about everything that I just discussed, please visit our website. All right. Now I will go over pension benefits and the options that you might have at the time of separation. It is important to remember that the kind of benefits you can elect at the time of your separation will depend on the length of your contributory service, whether you have vested pension rights or not. And if you do have vested pension rights and have the right to a form of a retirement benefit, your age at the time of separation will determine what kind of benefits you can elect. Detailed information on benefit options is also available on our website, including on how to prepare to retire or leave the fund's participation. The fund has also developed e-learning module called Benefits and Separation Essentials, which includes all the information needed for those participants that are separating. All right, so the fund provides 2 types of benefits: settlement payments and periodic benefit. And depending on the length of your contributor service and age, different options are available to you. It's important to note that the calculation of these benefits is different. A periodic benefit is calculated based on the formula and key factors that I explained earlier, which are the length of your contributor service translated into a rate of accumulation, and then of course your final average remuneration or income level, with the consideration of your age at the time of separation. That is the formula used for all periodic benefit. A withdrawal settlement will be based on what the amount of your own contributions to the fund was, plus the interest you earned since you joined the fund to the date of your separation. And if you have more than 5 years of contributor service and elect the withdrawal settlement, you will get an increase of the amount of your own contribution and interest proportionate to how many years you contributed to the fund in excess of those 5 years. I'll break that down to you in more details shortly. Again, please remember that your pension benefits will be determined based on your separation date, and the kind of benefit options you can elect will depend on the length of your contributory service and your age at the date of separation. This is just a reminder that your date of entry determines your normal and early retirement ages. All right, so If we look at that in terms of scenarios broken down by normal retirement age, we have a scenario of normal retirement age 60, 62, and 65, depending on when someone joins the fund. For those who have vested pension rights, meaning 5 years or more of contributory service when they separate, it would break down like this. So let's take a look at the scenario number 2, which is the most common scenario these days, since most people have a normal retirement age of 62. If you're someone whose normal retirement age is 62 and you have vested pension rights, if you separate at an age younger than 55, younger than your early retirement age, your benefit option would include a withdrawal settlement or a deferred retirement benefit. If you were between the ages of 55 and normal retirement age 62, your benefit options would include a withdrawal settlement, a deferred retirement benefit, and an early retirement benefit. And finally, if you were to separate at normal retirement age or later, you will have acquired the right to normal retirement benefit, meaning no reduction factors would apply to that benefit, regardless of how many years of contributory service you would have, as long as you have at least 5. And then there is a scenario for someone with a normal retirement age of 65. All right, now let's look at the benefits offered by the fund in details. To start with, there is a video available on the fund's website called Benefit Options. This video explains the different benefits that you may be eligible to elect as a participant of the fund when you separate from service. I won't play it for you, but I encourage you all to watch it. We'll start with the withdrawal settlement, which is a one-time final settlement payment. So what exactly is the withdrawal settlement? Again, it's a one-time payment that settles the fund's obligation vis-a-vis you, the former participant. Once we have paid you a withdrawal settlement, no further payment will be made to you or your survivors by the fund. How does the fund calculate the withdrawal settlement? It is the sum of your own contributions to the fund plus the compound interest you earned on these contributions at the time of separation. It does not include organizational share. A withdrawal settlement never includes the contribution made by your employing organization, meaning what a participant of the fund gets in the form of a withdrawal settlement is the reimbursement of their own contribution plus the compound interest earned on these contributions at the time of separation. And the interest rate is 3.25% compounded for the entirety of your contributory service. Now, if you have at the time of separation 5 years or more of contributory service, meaning you have vested pension rights, and if you were to elect a withdrawal settlement, then you will get an increase of the amount of your own contribution and interest, and that increase will be proportionate to the number of years you contributed to the fund in excess of 5 years. Meaning, if you have up to 5 years of contributory service, you will get exactly your contribution plus compound interest earned on this contribution. But if you have more than 5 years when you separate and elect a withdrawal settlement, you would get an increase of the amount of your own contribution plus interest based on how many years you contributed in excess of 5 years to the fund. One thing to know here is that the increase of that amount can be a maximum of 100% of the amount of your own contribution and interest. You can't get more than 100%, meaning you can't get more than double your own contribution and interest. And you would reach this 100% after 10 years of increase, that is equivalent to 15 years of contributory service. And finally, if you receive a withdrawal settlement and come back into active participation, you will have the option to reimburse this settlement and reactivate the period for which you have received it. And then have this restored contributory service be part of your new contributory service and participation. All right, let's look at some examples. If you separate from service with 4 years of contributory service, then your withdrawal settlement will consist of your own contribution plus compound interest earned on these contributions. There won't be any increase because your contributory service was less than 5 years. However, let's say you separate from service after 7.5 years of contributory service and elect a withdrawal settlement. Then you will get back not only your own contribution and interest earned on this contribution, but also an increase of 25% of your own contribution and interest amount. That is because in this example, you have 2.5 years, more than 5 years, and this 2.5 years will earn you an additional 10%. If you reach 15 years of contributory service at the time of separation and elect a withdrawal settlement, then you will receive double of your own contribution and interest. That is, you will get your own contribution plus the interest, plus because you have 15 years of contributory service, you have 10 years more than 5, you will get an increase of 100% of your contribution and interest. And finally, if you left the service after 20 years of contributory service and elected a withdrawal settlement, then your withdrawal settlement will consist again of your own contribution and interest earned, and you're entitled to an increase. However, that increase can't exceed 100% because that is the cap, as we discussed earlier. So what you will get in this case is double your contribution and interest as your withdrawal settlement. So this is how you calculate a withdrawal settlement. Again, anyone can elect a withdrawal settlement for as long as at the time of separation you're younger than your normal retirement age. Now we're going to look at the retirement benefits. These benefits are periodic benefits that are paid for life and are adjusted for the cost of living over time. There are different types of retirement benefits. Depending on your age at the time of separation, different retirement options will be made available to you. This is just a reminder how we calculate a retirement benefit. We are going to start with the best retirement benefit option, which is the normal retirement benefit, meaning the benefit payable if you separated with vested pension rights at your normal retirement age or older. Normal retirement benefit is a periodic benefit that will always include a lifelong monthly payment and offers an option, if you wish, to convert part of this benefit into a lump sum. Again, the normal retirement benefit includes a lump sum option. That is an option you receive to receive a part of your entitlement as one-time cash payment at the time of implementation of this benefit, and the remaining in monthly installments for life that are over time adjusted for the cost of living. There is no reduction factor applied to the normal retirement benefit. And what are the conditions to be entitled to this benefit? Again, you must have vested pension rights, meaning a minimum of 5 years of contributory service, and you must have reached at the time of your separation from service your normal retirement age for pension purposes, which is determined by the date you entered into the fund's participation. This benefit offers a lump sum option, and it is adjusted for the cost of living over time, meaning over time it will increase. And if you have a child or children under the age of 21 that were declared to your organization at the time of your separation or before, then the fund will also pay you a child allowance for every eligible child up to the months they turn 21. If you have the child that is disabled, you can apply for a disabled child allowance from the fund, in which case the fund would pay that allowance to you beyond the age 21 for child that is recognized as disabled. You are entitled to this benefit. Your entitlement to this benefit starts as of the date following your separation date. In other words, once your benefit is implemented, the fund will pay you retroactively back to the date following your separation date. Please note that there is a process that takes place after you separate from service and before the fund can implement your benefit. We require documents from you and your employing organization, so it might take some time to receive the required documents, go through calculation, audit, and implement your benefit. But once the fund reaches that point of implementing your benefit, then we will pay you retroactively back to the date following your separation date. The lump sum option is available with early and normal retirement benefits, so this benefit qualifies for lump sum option. It is a one-time payment that you would receive at the beginning of your retirement. It's an option and not a requirement. It's your choice whether you want to receive a lump sum or not. And the lump sum can be any amount up to 1/3 of the total value of your benefit. In other words, what you can take out is up to the amount of your own contribution and interest as a lump sum payment. If you take a lump sum, it will proportionately reduce the monthly payment you will receive for life. So please note that there is an impact of doing so. There is a direct connection between you taking a lump sum and the amount you would receive then as a regular monthly payment. You don't have to take a lump sum, it's your personal choice. You should, for any case, before you separate, run an estimate of your future entitlements using the estimate tool inside your member self-service portal. And that estimate will help you decide as to whether to take a lump sum or not. By using the estimate tool, you can run estimates with different lump sum amounts so that you can see how it would impact the amount you would receive on a monthly basis for life on an annual basis. In this example in front of us, the person would be entitled to a normal retirement benefit. And if they don't take a lump sum, they would receive over $95,000 US dollar per year as a full retirement benefit. Or if they decide to take a lump sum and take the maximum lump sum this person could get would be around $550,000. And if they want to take that total lump sum amount, they would reduce their lifelong annual pension entitlement from $95,000 to around $53,000. So again, as you can see, there is a direct impact between taking a lump sum and what retiree will receive as an annual or monthly income. Here in the estimate, we provide you with the annual amount, but you should know that the fund makes monthly payment. So you would be receiving 1/12 of this amount every month into the account that you provide to the pension fund. Also, if we have information on file for your potential survivor, for your spouse, the estimate will also provide you with what would the survivor's benefit payable be if you died or and survived by the same spouse that we had on record at that time. And here in this example, the surviving spouse would be entitled, would receive half of the full pension, meaning approximately $48,000 US dollar per year for life. And you see that regardless of whether this person elects a lump sum or not, the surviving spouse will always get 50% of the full pension amount. Meaning that while taking the lump sum, will impact the retiree's retirement entitlement. It will not impact the amount payable to the surviving spouse. The surviving spouse's benefit is always based on the full pension entitlement prior to possibly taking out a lump sum. So in this example, you see that regardless of lump sum or not, or no lump sum, the surviving spouse would be getting around 48,000, which is exactly 50% of the full pension under option 1. Let's look into another benefit option called early retirement benefit. This is also a periodic benefit, meaning it is payable for life in monthly installments. It also includes the option of getting a lump sum. Early retirement benefit is payable for life. It is calculated in the same manner as normal retirement benefit. However, a reduction factor will be applied to account for the fact that you will start receiving this benefit earlier than your normal retirement age, and therefore probably will benefit from it for longer than if you had started to receive pension at your normal retirement age. You can get a lump sum, just like under normal retirement benefit, and once in payment, the monthly portion is adjusted for the cost of living over time. You're also entitled to get a child allowance. However, that child allowance would only become payable at your normal retirement age. So if you get an early retirement benefit as of age, let's say 59, and your normal retirement age is 62, you would have to wait until you turn 62 before any child allowance payment would start. You would be entitled to child allowance if at the time when you reach age 62 or whatever your normal retirement age is, you have children that are still under the age of 21. And just like for normal retirement, the entitlement for this early retirement benefit would start as of the date following your separation date. So we would pay you retroactively once your benefit is implemented. The lump sum option is just like for normal retirement benefit. It's an optional choice. Electing a lump sum option will proportionately reduce the monthly payment that you would receive for life. All right. The reduction factor will only apply to a retirement benefit that starts into payment before you reach your normal retirement age. Therefore, because you would start receiving your benefit before reaching your normal retirement age, the fund must apply the reduction factor to alleviate the burden on the fund and its population. To calculate the reduction factor, we must look into two key elements. One, your age at separation at an early retirement, and how many years and months you are younger than your normal retirement age. And two, to determine which reduction factor applies to your case, we must look at the length of your contributory service at the time of your separation from service. The length of your contributory service can make a huge difference in the amount of the reduction factor that the fund has to apply for life to this early retirement. If you join the fund before 2014 and your early retirement age is 55, then your reduction factors are as follows. If you have less than 25 years of contributory service at the time of separation, then your reduction factor for early retirement is 6% per year and month that you're younger than your normal retirement age. So if you separate at an age 59, on an early retirement and your normal retirement age is 62, you will be 3 years younger than your normal retirement age. And if you have had less than 25 years of contributory service, it means that your reduction factor would be 3 times 6%. The total reduction factor would be 18% reduction of the amount that the fund would have calculated as your base pension entitlement amount. And that reduction would apply for life. However, if in the same scenario you actually had between 25 to 30 years of contributory service, and let's say you're still separating at age 59, then instead of 6% reduction factor, you would have a reduction factor of 3%. So let's say you separate at 59 and your normal retirement age is 62, separating you by 3 years earlier means your reduction factor would be total 9% of your base pension entitlement amount for life. As you can see, the person who has less than 25 years and separates on early retirement age 59 has a 18% reduction factor, as opposed to a person who has reached at least 25 years of contributory service and also separates 3 years before reaching normal retirement age. Their reduction factor would be only 9%. And then those who have reached at least 30 years of contributory service and who go on an early retirement, their reduction factor drops to only 1% per year and months that they're younger than normal retirement age. If we take the same scenario of someone separating at age 59 and who had 30 years of or more years of contributory service, the reduction factor is very small. It would be only 3 times 1%, meaning 3% reduction of their entitlement for life. So you see, you can go from 18% to 9% to 3% reduction factor for the same scenario of someone leaving 3 years earlier, but with different scenarios of having reached less than 25 years of contributory service, between 25 to 30, or more than 30 years of contributory service. So keep in mind that the length of your contributory service is key when the fund calculates an early retirement benefit. And having at least 25 years of contributory service is less financially painful because the reduction factor is significantly less. And of course, if you have 30 years, it's even better. The reduction factor have slightly changed since 2014. So for those that joined the fund since 2014 and whose early retirement age is 58, the reduction factors are now only 6% and 4% per year. So no longer 1% option. That is slightly different, but the same concepts are applied. And final point here, the fund cannot apply the lesser reduction factor of 4, 3, or 1% for more than 5 years. In other words, if someone separates more than 5 years before they reach their normal retirement age and elect an early retirement benefit, if they are entitled to a reduced reduction factor as per the length of their contributory service, that can only be multiplied by a maximum of 5. If they are more than 5 years younger than their normal retirement age, for the additional years, the fund has to revert back to 6% reduction factor. Now, this reduction factor, you can calculate it yourself, but you don't have to, because if you run an estimate using the estimate tool in your member self-service portal, and the date of your and at the date of your separation, you are anywhere between early and normal retirement age, then the amount shown at the estimate will include the reduction factor. So if you look at the estimate example here, this person separating at an age younger than their normal retirement age, but at an age where they have reached at least early retirement age, they actually have 3 benefit options. It could either be an early retirement benefit with or without lump sum. It could be so-called deferred retirement benefit, which I will talk about next, or of course it could be a withdrawal settlement. So this is the third and the last retirement benefit that the fund offers. It is a benefit that is also payable for life in monthly installments. However, this benefit does not offer a lump sum option or child benefit. So again, no lump sum option or child benefit under the deferred retirement benefit. This benefit should not be confused with a deferment of choice or payment of benefit, which I will cover later. Again, There is no child's benefit of any kind at any time payable associated with the deferred retirement benefit. So no lump sum, no child benefit. However, there is a surviving spouse benefit payable whenever applicable. The deferred retirement benefit can be elected by anyone who has vested pension rights regardless of how old the participant is when separating from service, as long as you have not reached your normal retirement age at the time of separation. So if someone separates today at age 50 and they're younger than their early retirement age of 55, but they have vested pension rights, they can elect a deferred retirement benefit. But what does that mean? It means that if they want, at the time of their separation, to get a form of a lifelong benefit from the fund, the option they will have for that is deferred retirement benefit. However, the fund cannot start making retirement benefit payments to anyone earlier than their early retirement age. So they will have to wait until their early retirement age before they can start receiving their monthly payments. If they want, they can start receiving their benefit at an early retirement age. In that case, because they're younger than their normal retirement age, the same reduction factor would apply, as I explained for early retirement benefit. Or alternatively, they could wait till their normal retirement age if they don't want reduction factors to be applied to their benefit. One can only determine that once they have the estimate of their entitlement. If you look at the estimate on the screen, here it is for someone who separates at an age younger than normal or early retirement age. The only option this person has are either a deferred retirement benefit or a withdrawal settlement. It says here full deferred retirement because the estimate tool would provide you with the amount payable under deferred retirement at your normal retirement age. In this example, the person's normal retirement age is 62. Their deferred retirement benefit value, if they waited till age 62 for this benefit to come into payment, would be around $35,000 per year, adjusted to the cost of living over time. And of course, there is also a surviving spouse benefit payable should the person die in retirement. Or this person can take a withdrawal settlement, a one-time payment of $258,000. Here's another estimate to illustrate deferred retirement benefit. This is run by someone whose age at the time of separation was between early and normal retirement age. So they have the option of withdrawal settlement, deferred retirement, and early retirement. Here you see that if they go for early retirement, which would be payable immediately as of the date following separation, they would have that reduction factor applied, whatever is applicable, and therefore reduce their full pension entitlement under early retirement to around $39,000 per year. Versus if they elected a deferred retirement benefit and waited till age 62, in which case they would have no reduction factor applied. And they would receive therefore around $66,000 per year for life. Now keep in mind that of course the amount under deferred retirement looks much better, but remember they would have missed out on several years of retirement payments because they're waiting to weigh out the reduction factor. So here the person would probably compare the numbers between the reduced amount under the early retirement and the larger under the deferred retirement. The reduced amount could be received as early as of age 55 in this example. So by the time this person reaches their normal retirement age, they would have received 7 times the reduced amount, which is a significant amount, versus waiting for 7 years and start receiving higher amount. So this is something for you to consider at the time of your separation. Finally, anyone who separates always will have an option to not make a benefit election. They can, when they separate, choose to delay the choice of benefit and pay out for up to 36 months. This is an option open to all participants. Again, this option should not be confused with the deferred retirement benefit, as previously discussed. What are the benefits of this option? If you expect to rejoin the pension fund within a short period of time from the time of your separation, and if you wish, you can always choose to freeze your pension holdings in the fund for up to 36 months from your separation date. If you do rejoin the fund within 36 months and we haven't paid you your benefit, you would simply rejoin the fund as a participant and continue adding to your already acquired pension rights and contributory service. So then when you again separate, you would get an accordingly higher benefit. Keep in mind that you have to make a benefit election at the latest at the end of 36 months deferment. That is an obligation. And if you don't make a choice, then the fund will have to make the choice for you, and it might take away some options from you. There is a comparative pension benefit chart available on the website where broken down by the length of contributory service and age, you could identify pension benefit options, and then another that breaks down benefit by benefit and answers the most frequently asked questions that we get for each of this benefit. Again, it is available on our website, and you might find it useful when making a decision on which benefit to elect. I won't go into details of calculating this different retirement benefit. It is, however, included in this presentation in case you're interested in learning more about calculations of different retirement benefit. There are various examples taking you through various retirement benefits. If you're interested in learning more about how we calculate these benefits, please refer to this PowerPoint presentation, which will be shared with you later. And now, before we go into the break, it's time to test your knowledge on what we've covered so far. Regina, over to you. So please, again, either scan the Slido code, or I'm assuming there is a link to the Slido posted in Q&A. And the question is, does the withdrawal settlement payout include the organizational contribution share? And I see that most of you have selected the correct answer. That's right. The withdrawal settlement will never include the organizational share. I see sometimes. Yes. Again, just to reiterate here, the withdrawal settlement will never include the organizational share. It's very important to remember that. All right. So up next, we have we will go over other UNJSPF benefits, but before that, we will take 10-minute break. The current time in New York is 9:35, so please be back by 9:45, the latest. Thank you all for your participation.
Welcome back. So welcome back from the break. In this second part of the presentation, I will cover some of the other pension benefits that are paid by the fund, and including survivors benefits. And then we'll look at the separation process and your pension toolkit. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so in this first part of the second half, I'll go over some of the pension benefits that were not covered in the first half of the presentation, where Dilbar covered pension benefit options. So one of the types of benefits, which is not really an option, but which the pension fund does pay, and you're covered for while being an active participant in the fund, is the disability benefit. The disability benefit is a monthly benefit that's payable to a participant who has been deemed by the fund's disability committee to be unable to work, either due to injury or health reasons. With this type of benefit, you don't have to be vested. You would receive the disability benefit, if approved, after you've exhausted all of your leave entitlements as an active staff member and then are separated from service. Disability benefit does not have a lump sum component to it. It does have the monthly benefit, which is reviewed periodically to check if you remain incapacitated for work. And once you have been receiving the disability benefit up to your early retirement age, your disability benefit would be payable for life. The amount of the disability benefit is what you would have received as a retirement benefit if you had worked up until your normal retirement age. Another benefit which was touched upon in the discussion on pension benefits is the child's benefit. If you have a normal retirement benefit and any child under age 21, you can receive this additional amount on behalf of each eligible child. And the benefit is paid up until the child is 21. If you have a disability benefit, your child who's under age 21 would also be an eligible child for this benefit. And as mentioned, if you have an early retirement benefit, by the time you reach your normal retirement age, if your eligible child is still under age 21, you would receive the child's benefit on their behalf. So the child's benefit is not payable if you choose a deferred retirement benefit. But for early and normal retirement benefits, it is payable, again, once you've reached your normal retirement age for early retirement cases. There's not a limit to the number of children that the fund will recognize as a dependent child. However, there is a limit to the total amount payable as a child's benefit. Even if you have more children than your employing organization would recognize for purposes of child allowance, you should report all of your children to your employing organization so that their records are forwarded to the fund and they would be considered for the pension fund's child benefit. So once you have a child who reaches age 21, the benefit stops. And if you have more children who are still under age 21, the benefit is recalculated and the amount is then divided in shares among the remaining entitled children. There is the amount of the benefit is 1/3 of the retirement benefit, but there is a maximum and minimum established for the child's benefit. The total amount payable is with a maximum amount that then, as I said, is distributed among the remaining children who are eligible if one turns 21. Now, if you have a child who's been recognized as disabled, the child's benefit from the fund can be paid beyond age 21. How do you know if you are entitled to this on behalf of your child? Well, if you have a child who is disabled and for whom you're receiving the special dependency allowance, they're recognized as disabled by your member organization, for example. When you separate from service, you should inform the fund of this, and then the child would have to be reviewed by the same committee to establish their entitlement to be able to get the disability benefit and be able to be paid beyond age 21 if that disability is still there at that point. Now, in the next section, I'm going to go over the survivor's benefits. So we've looked at benefits that you can choose from when you separate from service as a retiree. Once you are entitled to a retirement benefit, if you have any eligible dependents, they could very well be eligible for a survivor's benefit in the event of your death. We have a video which I would like to play for you, which covers a lot of the information in just a few minutes. So if I could please have some assistance and play the video. I guess I need to stop sharing my screen. Thank you.
While you are a participant in the UNJSPF, you are covered for the risk of death in service. What this means is if you die in service and at that time are married and/or have dependent children under the age of 21 who are duly reported to the fund prior to your separation from service or death in service, then your surviving spouse or spouses and children under the age of 21 might be entitled to a survivor's benefit. In the case of a surviving spouse, the benefit is payable for life. In the case of a surviving child, the benefit stops when the child turns 21, except for children recognized as disabled by the fund. Under very specific conditions, A divorced spouse might also be entitled to a divorced surviving spouse's benefit. If there is no spouse, divorced spouse, and/or child entitled to a benefit, then a surviving secondary dependent, such as a parent or sibling recognized as such by your employing organization, might be entitled to a survivor's benefit. The coverage for survivor's benefits exists from the very first day of your UNJSPF participation, provided you are medically cleared by your employing organization. It is extremely important that you report all your dependents to your employing organization, and that you inform your HR office of any changes in a timely manner, so that the fund is aware of all your potential survivors. If you die after separation from service, while entitled to a disability or retirement benefit from the fund, one or more of the same survivor's benefits might become payable, and the logic is the same. Again, the survivors entitled to a benefit could be your spouse, divorced spouse, and/or your eligible children. If you don't have any of these survivors, a secondary dependent recognized as such by your employing organization might be entitled to a benefit. Please note that if you got married after you separated from service, your new spouse will not be entitled to a survivor's benefit unless you purchase an annuity for them. To do this, you would have to inform the fund and make the request in writing within 1 year of the date of marriage. You need to be aware that children conceived after you retired are not entitled to a survivor's benefit. When you separate from service because of disability or retirement, the fund will require you to submit copies of valid government-issued IDs and birth certificates for yourself, your spouse or spouses, any former spouses, and all your children under the age of 21, or over 21 if they are recognized as disabled. The fund will also need a copy of your marriage certificate and any divorce or death certificates of previous spouses. If you have secondary dependents, the fund will also need copies of their birth certificates. You can submit these copies either through your employing organization or directly to the fund during your separation process. If your marital status changes after you separated, it's important that you inform the fund and that you provide the relevant documentation to the fund. It's a good idea for you and your survivors to create a file with copies of the aforementioned supporting documents, as well as the survivor's booklet printed from this website and the UNJSPF contact details, so that all this information is readily available when needed. Watch the video, "Are you a survivor of a UNJSPF retiree or beneficiary?" for additional details. You can also visit the fund's webpage for survivors.
Thank you. I hope you got a lot out of that short video. We do have many other videos like this on our website. And if maybe this is a good occasion for you to get the link again for our survey. So make sure that you please give us your feedback on this presentation so that we can continue to improve. The link to the survey will be in the Q&A. So back to our presentation. The video we just saw covered the survivor's benefits that I'm going to touch on again here. So the survivor's benefits are regular monthly benefits that are paid to recognized survivors. We saw that you could have a surviving spouse benefit, which is paid for life. Children could receive a surviving child benefit until age 21, or if they're deemed disabled, they could receive it beyond age 21. And under certain circumstances, an ex-spouse could be in receipt of a surviving spouse's benefit. If none of those that are listed here, the three at the top of the slide, if none of those survivors is entitled to a benefit, it's possible that you have a secondary dependent who's entitled. So as an active staff member, you might have a secondary dependent and receive an allowance for that family member. If you have a secondary dependent who's a parent, then and no other survivor's benefit payable, that one secondary dependent could be entitled to a survivor's benefit. As a parent, that secondary dependent benefit is like the spouse benefit, which is payable for life. Or if your secondary dependent is a sibling, then the secondary dependent benefit is like a child's benefit, which is payable until age 21. Here we've listed, again, the different types of survivors' benefits. The surviving spouse's benefit, or ex-spouse, is a monthly benefit payable for life to the entitled surviving spouse of a beneficiary who dies either while in receipt of a retirement benefit or disability benefit, or who dies while in service. So you have to have been married to that person at the time of separation and stayed married to them until death. In the case of a surviving ex-spouse, there are certain conditions which we will go over briefly, but you have to have been married at least 10 years during your active participation in the fund, and the death has to occur within a specific period of 15 years from the date of the divorce. You cannot expressly renounce your right to a pension benefit in the divorce decree, and the surviving ex-spouse has to be at least age 40. If you have a spouse and you die in service while you're still an active participant, that spouse would be entitled to a surviving spouse's benefit. We have resources to consult if you have a non-traditional union or a same-sex union, so that you would know whether your current spouse is eligible in the event of your death. So certain non-traditional marriages may be recognized, and the legislation is based on the country in which the union has been conducted. For the child's benefit, I think we've covered that the child's benefit is payable as a survivor's benefit as long as the child is under age 21, either at your time of death as an active participant, or if you're a retiree and you die while in receipt of a retirement benefit, then the child would be eligible. The secondary dependents benefit, again, a mother or father or a brother or sister. Only in the absence of one of the previous two, in absence of a spouse or child's benefit. On this slide, we have a link to the documentation on our website where you can see the details of which unions are recognized for pension fund purposes for surviving spouse's benefit. There is no lump sum for the surviving spouse's benefit, and the amount is half of what your retirement benefit is or would be. In the first part of the presentation, when the regular pension benefits were covered, you saw in the estimate the amount of the surviving spouse's benefit if your spouse is recorded in the fund's records, and it was pointed out that whether you take a lump sum or not, it doesn't affect the amount of the surviving spouse's benefit. It would be based on half of your full retirement benefit. or your retirement benefit. So for the divorced surviving spouse, these are the conditions that I mentioned. It's possible that you would have, at the time of death, in retirement, a divorced surviving spouse who is entitled to a benefit and your current spouse. So it's possible that both are paid, in which case they would split the surviving spouse's benefit according to the length of marriage. It's also possible that in some places people have more than one spouse who's recognized for pension fund purposes. So where more than one spouse is legally permitted, if there's more than one spouse at the time of your death, the pension fund would pay those eligible spouses and divide the spouse's benefit among them. There was a mention in the video about marriage after separation and that spouse would not be entitled unless you purchased an annuity. So that is true. If you are not married to the person at the time of separation from service, they will not automatically be recognized by the fund as a spouse for purposes of a surviving spouse's benefit in the event of your death. However, you can purchase an annuity so that in the event of your death, that spouse would receive a benefit from the fund. It's according to the percentage that you choose. So you would pay to have perhaps a 25% annuity, and the amount that you choose would determine the amount that you pay as the annuity, which is deducted from your monthly benefit. You have to make the election within 1 year of the date of your marriage, and the election becomes effective 18 months after your date of marriage. Once you make this decision, you can't revoke your decision unless there is a divorce or a death of the spouse. For the surviving child's benefit, again, we have the links here to the information on our website. So when you review the slides, you can see how to get exactly to the material on our website, which will include the video that we just showed. Again, it's important for you to report all of your children to your member organization so that they are recognized at the time of your separation from service or in the event of your death if in service, that they would be paid the survivor's benefit. I mentioned the child's benefit being payable beyond age 21 if the fund has deemed them disabled. So in this slide, we just reiterate that the surviving child's benefit is also payable beyond age 21 if they've been found disabled. There's more information linked at the bottom. Just please be aware that, as I mentioned, you should make this known at the time of your separation if you have a disabled child, so that even if your child is not close to age 21, you don't want to wait until sometime in retirement when they do reach 21 to have the child reviewed for this disability status. So for survivors' benefits, it is very well possible that we are paying from the fund surviving spouse's benefit, maybe even to more than one spouse, surviving ex-spouse, and children all at the same time. So it's part of where the funds benefits are paid out. So not just to, you can see not just as retirement benefits, but also beyond your lifespan to your survivors who are recognized according to our regulations as eligible for these benefits. Now, if you have none of these survivors' benefits payable, and I mentioned you could have a secondary dependent, a parent or a child that you have proven that you support financially and have been recognized by your employing organization for secondary dependence allowance, then the fund would pay to one of these secondary dependents in the event of your death. Here altogether we have a list of references for the survivor's benefit information, including the link to the annex of the non-traditional unions. This is updated regularly. So what happens in the event of your death? If your survivors are, if something should happen to them and they pass away and have only received a survivor's benefit for a short period. So in this section, we're going to go over the residual settlement. This is one of the payments that could be made in the event of your death if you have no eligible survivors, or if your eligible survivors do not receive a benefit from the fund long enough to have been paid out the total of your own contributions made to the fund. So the residual settlement, it is a one-time payment of your contributions that have not already been paid out, either to you if you did have a retirement benefit and passed away before the equivalent of your own contributions was paid to you as a retirement benefit, or to you and perhaps even to survivors for a short period. Just be aware that we do have video also on this, which I think will be very helpful for you to understand the residual settlement. Most of you might have heard about the A2 form, which we ask you to fill out. That is where you designate who would be paid the residual settlement if it were to be payable. So it's only payable when there's no primary or secondary survivor, and the amount of your contributions has not been paid out yet. If you have a residual settlement payable and you have no one still alive on your designation form, then the residual settlement is paid to your estate. So this is to illustrate what is the residual settlement. You saw in the first half of the presentation about your contributions and interest on your pension statement. You could see what the total was and the interest. The amount of benefits paid, let's say you separate, you take a retirement benefit with a lump sum, and within 2 months you pass away. In most cases, you've been paid a lump sum, you've already been paid out the amount of your contributions and interest, so there's really no amount payable as a residual settlement. But in the event that you didn't take a lump sum, for instance, there could be an amount payable to whoever you have designated on your A2 form, and that would be payable only if there's no surviving spouse, child, or secondary dependent. The A2 form we do ask everyone to complete, and you might not remember who you put on your form, so you can always update the form by submitting a new one. You can find this document in your member self-service portal under eForms. And we ask you, though, to print and sign a form, and then you can upload it and return it to the to the fund. But we do ask you to sign a hard copy. You can designate anyone you want. It can be a charity or an entity. It can be more than one person. And if you do not designate someone, then it would be payable to your estate. This is the form. You probably have seen it. And we do get a lot of questions about this. But as I mentioned, it actually is payable only in the event that you have no surviving spouse or child or secondary dependent. But I do encourage you to watch the video and to read more information to understand who you might want to put here as your beneficiary in the event that a residual settlement would be payable. Okay, so in the next part of the presentation, I would like to talk about the separation process. So this town hall is about separation and pre-retirement. And you will have to go through some administrative procedures when you separate. And part of that will be paperwork that has to come to the pension fund so that the pension fund can process your pension benefit. So we do have videos that will cover this as well. You've seen some of the benefit options that the fund pays. We have a video that will explain that. It's available in English, French, and Spanish. We have a video about retiring or separating and how to prepare for it. So I encourage you to watch these videos. And an overview of the separation process, which is on our web page. So this is not a video, but it is a lot of the material that I'm going to cover briefly in this presentation. So in the separation process, we say that there are 3 parties involved. There's you, the active participant, the staff member, and your employer and the fund. And we all have different responsibilities to make sure that you get your pension benefit. So from the time you separate to the time your benefit is put into payment, we have steps to cover. We have documents to receive, and let's take a look at this process. Generally speaking, at this time, the pension fund processes more than 93% of the cases within 15 business days of receipt of a complete and correct package of separation documents. Once your benefit's in payment as a retirement benefit, 100% of our periodic benefit payments are issued on time. So this is very reassuring. But we need to get to the point where your benefit's put in payment, and we would like to cover what that process entails. So first, let's look at what you, the staff member, has to do to prepare. First, attend a town hall, as you are now. This will help you understand your benefit options, what you need to do to prepare for separation, and where you can access information and self-service tools. Secondly, you should check all of your personal data and make sure that it's been reported correctly to the fund by your employing organization. On your annual statement that was reviewed in the first half of the presentation, You saw at the top of the document, which is issued each year, that your name and your contributory service data, your normal retirement age, and so forth, that's all on your pension statement. It's important to check for any discrepancies in your name or date of birth, for instance, because once you separate from service, if these show some discrepancy from what was reported to the fund and what you have in your own records, then that will have to be cleared up before we could process your benefit and put it into payment. And for instance, also the date of birth of a child, as you saw, that child is entitled to a benefit up to age 21. So if there's any discrepancy in the date of birth of a child, then that has to be cleared up before we can establish the entitlement and entitlement dates. You should also run an estimate or more than one estimate of your benefit options to understand what you have as your options when you separate from service. In the next section, I will go over the member self-service portal and how you run estimates. But this is the best way to find out what you can expect when you separate. And if you have any questions about your future entitlements or the separation process, we ask you to please contact your HR office, or if you're a member of one of our agencies or SPCs, to contact your SPC secretary. And we encourage you to start the process early so that you have time to review your data, to run your estimates, and to really understand your pension options. Fifth, so you see you have quite a long checklist here to do, but we're here to help you with this. You'll need to submit a payment instruction form to the pension fund, and ideally, you have run enough estimates to understand what your benefit options are, and then you make that choice on the payment instruction form. There are two different forms for those separating from service. You would have the form for those who have less than 5 years of contributory service, and as their only option for payment, it would be a withdrawal settlement. And then you have a longer payment instruction form for those who have more than 5 years of service and are vested with pension rights for a monthly retirement benefit. These documents are available within your member self-service portal, where you can download the payment instruction form. We require a signed copy, so you'll have to print it and then sign it with ink. But you can scan it and upload it and return it to the fund through member self-service, unless your employing organization has instructed you to provide the document to them, where they will collect the whole package and send it to the fund. If you are choosing a retirement benefit, you'll need to submit supporting documentation along with your payment instruction form. So we always ask for a valid government ID with a picture and your signature, and a recent bank statement, which will confirm the data that you've put on your payment instruction form. If you have any eligible survivors or children, we ask for supporting documents, ID documents, birth certificates, marriage and divorce certificates. So this information is here for you to refer to, and it's on our website under this page on separation. So once you have all the documents that you are required to submit, as I mentioned, if your employing organization has instructed you to submit everything to them and then they package everything together with the required documents that they have to provide, then you follow their instruction. If you are able to send the documents directly to the fund yourself, you have a few options. You can submit them through member self-service document upload, or you can mail them to the fund or drop them off if you're in one of the locations like New York or Geneva, where we have offices that scan in documents, and you can also send things by special courier, or if you have access, by pouch. So we do accept hard copy documents, but for your ease, we encourage you to use member self-service. And please be aware that once you have submitted your payment instruction form to the fund and the fund has processed your benefit and put it into payment, you can no longer go back and change your mind and choose something different. So it's important that you run estimates and that you're aware of the different options, and for instance, whether it has a child's benefit associated with it or not, or if you choose the lump sum or not. Because yes, this big caution is just to remind you, you need to make an informed decision as soon as it's in payment. We cannot let you submit a new document to make a different choice. Okay, so the second step in the separation process, the second party involved is your employing organization. They have to submit 2 mandatory separation documents to the fund. One is from your HR office, that's called the Separation Personnel Action, and the other one is from your payroll office, that is referred to as the Separation Notification. And until we have these documents, as well as your payment instruction form, we cannot process your benefit. There is an average time frame after separation when the fund receives documents from member organizations. It usually takes a few weeks from the date of your separation before the employing organization gives the fund your separation personnel action and your separation notification. Fortunately, we have a way for you to track it, which I will show you when we get to the next section on member self-service. But let's first look at the third party in the separation process. So there's you, there's your employer, and then the third party is the pension fund. What do we have to do here at the fund? So we have to get your complete set of documents. If you sent them in, for instance, by mail, the hard copy documents have to be scanned and indexed to your file. They have to be reviewed. Your pension contribution history has to be reviewed. Any discrepancies that are found there have to be reconciled. So the fund would reach out to your employing organization to reconcile any discrepancies. If there's something that is on one of your documents that is where there's a discrepancy, or if you completed your payment instruction form incorrectly, the fund will reach out to you directly. And on the payment instruction form, there's a place for contact details. So it's very important that you put valid contact details so the fund can reach you. The standard processing time is 15 business days from the date of receipt of a complete package of separation documents where there are no discrepancies. So in the previous slide where I had shown that over 93% of the separation cases are paid within 15 business days, means that's a pretty high rate for processing, and it indicates that the discrepancies are getting cleared up before separation, which will help to keep that processing time at a very high percentage of within the 15 business days. But where there are delays, it's often because the fund has not received the separation notification yet. Or it could be that we haven't received your payment instruction, or that you didn't complete it correctly and we didn't have a way to contact you. Now, in this part, I'm going to show you where the tracking tool is in Member Self-Service. Although we're not in the section of the presentation yet about Member Self-Service, I'm going to jump here to show you that you can track the fund's receipt of these separation documents so that you know if we haven't received one of the documents yet, you should reach out to wherever the delay is. So for instance, if you have if the fund shows that they have not received your payment instruction, then you know something's happened, you haven't submitted it, or it hasn't been received by the fund. If it's one of the documents that your member or your employing organization has to provide, then you would reach out to your former employer. So in the Member Self-Service portal, there's a section called Proof Documents. And there are the mandatory separation documents listed. If there's no receipt date, then that means we have not received the documents yet. Once we have a receipt date by those mandatory separation documents, they have to be reviewed. And as I said, if there's no discrepancies, then within 15 business days, in most cases, the benefit would be put into payment. So if there's anything missing, you would contact your former HR or SPC, depending on who your employer was, and follow up on the missing separation documents. Once the documents are all with the fund, and if there's more than 15 business days that have passed since the receipt date, then you can reach out to the fund. But as I said, in more than 90% of the cases, we're processing them very quickly. So this is a screenshot of Member Self-Service. And on the right-hand side, you see the tab that's circled called Proof Documents. So under this tab, there's nothing showing, which means we haven't received anything yet. But on the next slide, on the bottom left, you see an example of a receipt date for one of the 3 mandatory separation documents. And then on the right-hand side, it shows not only that all 3 documents have been received, but they've been accepted. So if you have a view like on the left, then you know that the pension fund cannot start processing your benefit yet. But if you have a view on the right, then you see that we've received all 3 documents. And then it should be just a matter of 15 days or so before your benefit's put into payment, or rather processed. So just to mention that I say 15 business days, we have a monthly payroll at the pension fund. So if the fund receives your documents and processes your case, but let's say it's just after the payroll cutoff for that month, it's possible that your benefit, your regular monthly benefit, would first get paid at the following month's payroll. So depending on the time of the month that the benefit is processed, and that's based on the receipt date of the documents, you'll get your first pension payment either in the same month or possibly a following month. So on this slide, we have just the details about how to get to that document tracking in member self-service. And here is again some of the most frequent reasons for delays in processing. Either non-receipt of documents, incorrectly completed documents, or discrepancies in the documentation or the contributions. And now we have a quiz. Should be in the Q&A.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna post the link again on the Q&A just because I think it's all the way up.
Thank you. Let's see if I see it there. Okay. So we've just finished the part on the separation process. Let's see, here we have. The question is, you can change your pension benefit election after your benefit has been implemented into payment. True or false? So far, it's immediately 100% false. Now it's changing a little. Okay, I think most people remembered the slide with the flashing caution. Once your benefit's been put into payment, you cannot change your benefit election. Thank you. Thank you for answering the quiz.
Should we go to the other question, Denise?
Well, we have a couple more questions at the end, but if you have time for one more, that's fine. Yes. Okay. True or false? You can submit scanned copies of your duly completed and hand-signed payment instructions, as well as supporting documents to the fund electronically via your UNJSPF member self-service portal, MSS. True or false? Okay. I see it's mostly true, and this wasn't a trick question, but actually there are some staff of agencies, of SPCs, who are not able to upload documents through member self-service while they're active participants. So their employing organization requires them to give the documents to them rather than directly to the fund. So for the most part, yes, it's true. But there are some exceptions. So thank you for answering the question. It wasn't meant to be trick, but I realize it's not always 100%. Yes. Okay, so let me go back to sharing my screen. In the next section, we're going to look at the toolkit. Just to check, in case the survey link has gone very far out of view, maybe it can be posted again as well. Okay, so there's do you see my slide? Okay. Okay, so in this last section of the presentation, we're going to look at the pension fund's website and the different resources there. member self-service, which you access via the website, and how to contact the fund. So what is the pension toolkit that we're referring to? We have our website, which is www.unjspf.org, United Nations Joint Staff Pension Fund. In the recent years, we updated our website, and that was to make it easier to navigate, more user-friendly, more intuitive, and to update the information and news. And we have so many resources available that I hope you will go and explore. After we take a little look around, I hope you'll realize that there's a lot of information there. The website is in English and in French. So you'll see at the top left of our homepage, you can choose the language you want. We also have a number of e-learning modules. You can access these via our website too. These are interactive courses that cover various subjects. So we currently have one on participation essentials, on benefits and separation, and retirees essentials, and on the two-track. The two-track is something which will actually be one of the topics of a future town hall on the 20th of March. So if you're interested in your retirement benefit being paid according to a local cost of living, join us on the 20th of March next week for the session on two-track. And you might want to do the e-learning module beforehand just to get a head start. We also have the link to our member self-service, which is your account, your own personal view into your pension account. Right now, the portal is in English, but we're working on the French and hope that it would be there within the next few months, that you'll be able to access everything in French. But for now, the MSS portal is in English only. So let's look around. What do we have on our website? This is our address, which is pretty easy to remember. And this is what our new homepage looks like. So we've got it set up according to your situation. Are you an active participant? Are you separating? Or are you someone who's already in receipt of a benefit as a retiree, or maybe a survivor? And if you click on one of those situations, you'll have a number of subjects pop up which are related to that status or to that situation. But of course, you can always look at every possible subject via the resources, the videos, and booklets that we have online. And you see on the top left of the screen is where you can switch from English to French. So the website, as I said, is in both languages. On the right-hand side where you see the blue bar, that's where you go to member self-service, and currently only in English. So what all can you do with our website? You can find pension-related topic pages. We have one on member self-service, including tutorials. We have ones on the separation process, covering a lot of what I just went over. We have information about the fund's investments and performance. We have the foundational documents of the fund, including the regulations and rules. We have news and announcements. We have reports, educational booklets and videos, the access to your member self-service portal. And we hope that this will make it more inviting and easier for you to find the information that you're looking for. So on the right-hand side, you can see at the top in the menu where you can access information depending on your situation. You have the investments, all the different resources, including the link to the rather new page on these town hall presentations. So the video of this presentation and the others that we have done and will do, along with the slide deck, will be stored under resources on our website. So that's where you can find this and the other presentations. Also in the menu, you see a contact us, which is how you contact the fund. I'll go over that a little more detailed in a moment. And then urgent assistance. That's where you can reach us to tell us, for instance, in the event of a death, or if you're a retiree and you didn't get your monthly benefit. So under the resources tab, some of the things you can see are all of these videos, and I played one of them on the survivors benefits, but you see we have a lot of different videos that are around 4 minutes each, and I hope that you enjoyed the one on the survivors benefits because it covers a lot in a short period of time in a way that I find easy to understand. And you see the different topics here. Non-traditional unions, I spoke about that. Residual settlement, it's there. Okay, so if you prefer to read things instead of watching videos, or you might want to do both, we also have booklets on a lot of these topics. You can access the booklets also under the resources tab on our website. We have regular articles posted on our website. You can see, for instance, on this slide that we inform our clients when the annual report has been published, if there's something that's needs to be announced, for instance, the monthly benefit. You see the monthly benefit was if you didn't receive your benefit at the end of June, what you need to do. So the newsroom part is updated regularly. But if you also can subscribe to our newsletter, and then you will be sent news directly to your email. So we encourage you to sign up for the monthly newsletter. You can do that by clicking there, and then you'll give your email address and sign up for the fund's newsletter. Okay, in addition to these videos and information pages and booklets and so forth, we also have e-learning modules that you can access through our website. I mentioned 4 of them. One on participation. Here they're listed on the left: benefits and separation essentials, essentials for retirees and beneficiaries, and 2-track. So on this slide, you'll see the link and also the instructions on how to register. So you'll register so that you can access the modules. Member self-service. There is a video about member self-service. We also have an instructional tutorial about how to register and what all you can do in member self-service. There's an entire page devoted to it on our website. In order to register, you'll need your 9-digit unique ID. If you don't know it, you can request it. You'll need it for registration. You'll need to have your name as it's been reported to the pension fund, because you're accessing your account as it's been recorded with the fund, as well as your date of birth. So this is why it's also very important for you as an active participant to make sure that your records have no discrepancies in name, date of birth, for instance. When you register for member self-service, we encourage you to use a private email address. So not your employment email address, because once you're no longer employed, if you forget your password and the password reset is sent to your email account, you probably won't have access to that email account anymore. So what can you do in member self-service? If you're an active participant, as we all are right now, you can check, for instance, your pension statement, which we encourage you to do. It's published every year, and we encourage you to review it. You can also run estimates to know what your pension will be at the date of separation. You can transmit documents to the fund. You can access the official documents already pre-populated with your name and unique ID. And you can track receipt of your separation documents. Once you're a retiree, you can use member self-service. You can continue to use it, and there will be other functions that you might find helpful. You'll track all of your pension payments. Your monthly payments will show up there. You can also access all of the official forms and submit documents to the fund through document upload, as you can for most participants under the MSS document upload. So here, this is a screenshot of our homepage, and you see in the top right, member self-service login. So if you haven't registered yet, and you click there, you're going to get a screen that looks like this. You'll have to register by clicking that little word register that I've highlighted, and you'll need your 9-digit unique ID, your last name as reported to the fund, and the date of birth. And that's how you start the process of registering with member self-service. You'll be asked to answer or to select and answer a number of security questions. And once you have finished with your registration, this is where you also log in. So the same link is where you log in to your account from our homepage. Once you're in member self-service, this is what the landing page looks like. So your homepage has the terms of service in English and French listed here. And you see on the left-hand side the menu bar. Once you're a retiree, that will change slightly, but you'll have a lot of the same functionality. At the top right, you see where you can log out, and you see next to that the word account. That's where you will access your ability to change your password or your security questions. Here's a close-up of the different menu items. Under Documents, that's where you will find your annual pension statement. Under E-Forms, that's where you will find your payment instruction forms, pre-populated with your name and unique ID, and they're barcoded. We encourage you to use the ones from here. Proof documents is where you'll track receipt of your separation documents when you separate, and then when you're a retiree, you'll see where we received your yearly proof of life document. Estimate is an important one. I'll show you that in just a moment. And then member self-service document upload, I'll also go over that. So this is a close-up of all a description of all of the tabs and what you can access in the menu. Here on the right is a view of the page on our website dedicated to member self-service. So you see you have a assistance on how to register. You have a tutorial, a video tutorial that you can watch, or a tutorial that will tell you the steps. You have information about how to recover your password and what you can find in member self-service. And it's also another link where you can log in. So let's have a look at some of the key member self-service tools for participants. I mentioned the Accounts tab. This is what it looks like when you click the Accounts tab. You can reset your password, update your security questions, or update your email address. So this email address, as I said, is preferably a private one, not your work email address. Documents tab. When you want to review your yearly pension statement, this is where you go. So you see May is when they're normally published, and it's the pension account status as of the end of the prior year. So this May, you'll see your pension statement for 2023. You'll also see every document generated when you run an estimate. Here's what your annual statement looks like in case you want to see again. This is the document that's generated yearly. Estimate tab. How do you run your estimates? You go into member self-service, and on the left menu item, you choose estimate. You'll see this page with a large disclaimer. It's basically telling you that the estimate is run based on the data that the fund has received as of the date that you're running the estimate. So if your organization has not updated certain employment records, and just keep in mind that the yearly reconciliation of your account is done right now. And so right now your status in your estimate will be as of the end of 2023. So if you had a recent change, it would not have been reported and reflected yet for most cases. So it's an estimate. You put in the date that you plan to separate from service, and you submit the request. If you are entitled to a retirement benefit, an early or full retirement benefit, you can put in a fixed amount as a lump sum if you have become familiar enough with the estimates to know more or less how much of a fixed amount of a lump sum you want, as long as it's lower than the maximum that's the default that's generated in your estimate. So let's say you just put in a separation date and you click Submit Request. What happens? You'll see the little wheel will spin and it will tell you to wait. Once it's finished, you get this message that says the estimate calculation is completed. The estimate document will be available for review in the Documents tab shortly. So you go to the Documents tab, and the estimate document is a PDF document. This is where you'll go. You see each time you run an estimate, it creates a document. So this is what an estimate looks like when generated through your member self-service account. You see highlighted in the separation date that you entered. And it will tell you after that, based on the date that you put, whether you're vested and your age at separation will all determine what your benefit options are. So Dilbar covered a lot of that in the first part of the presentation, and I think she also showed some of the estimate results. So here you see another example. This person's put in a separation date when they were vested with at least 5 years of contributory service, but they had not yet reached early retirement age. So their only options are either the deferred retirement benefit or a withdrawal settlement. These are a couple more examples that you see. If you put in a separation date in the future when you would have reached already reached your early retirement age, then you'll get different options here. If you put in that type of separation date when you've already reached age 55 or 58, whatever the case may be, you'll have more than just two options. So here you see the additional option of early retirement with or without lump sum. And in those cases, as well as the deferred retirement benefit, you see the amount for a surviving spouse. Here's the third example. This time the estimate was run with a separation date far enough in the future that the person had already reached their normal retirement age. Once you reach your normal retirement age, the only benefit option you're going to get when you're vested is full retirement with or without lump sum. So once you've reached age 62 or 65, whichever the case is for you, you only can choose either retirement benefit with or without lump sum. The estimate will default to the maximum lump sum amount. You can choose a fixed amount as long as it's less than this. So if you put a higher amount in the estimate tool, it's going to give you the default maximum. If you put in a lower amount that's fixed, it will adjust the monthly amount accordingly. But as you can see, all of these figures are yearly amounts. Here's an example of where someone put in a fixed lump sum amount. And when you run a self-service estimate with a fixed lump sum amount, the document that gets generated indicates the amount that you put in that field for a fixed lump sum. So you see at the bottom of the estimate, fixed lump sum amount, $100,000. If you don't put anything in that field when you run the estimate, the default will show up and there will be nothing at the bottom of the estimate document. Now, we've seen how the estimates look when you run them in member self-service. And on the left, we have a payment instruction form. So once you have your benefit estimate and you know what your options are, then you look at the payment instruction form and you can see which options you can choose from, and you'll need to select one of them. So in this example, the person is entitled to an early retirement benefit or a deferred retirement benefit or a withdrawal settlement. they haven't yet reached their normal retirement age, which means on the left-hand side where we have option A, retirement benefit for participants who have reached the normal retirement age, they can't choose one of those. They cannot choose anything under A. We would have to go back to and ask you to fill out a new payment instruction form if you select something that you're not eligible for. And under B, where in this case, the participant is eligible for an option of early retirement with or without lump sum, you'll see that you have the option to fill out full early retirement pension, and then you would check the box there on the right, which means you just want a monthly benefit for life. You're not choosing a lump sum amount with the monthly. Or if you decide you do want a lump sum and a reduced monthly amount, you can choose option B2, and then you tick the box that aligns with option 2. If you wanted a fixed lump sum amount, you fill it in that highlighted area where you could put the amount of the lump sum. If you don't fill that in and you've checked the box for option B2, you'll get it will be assumed that you want the maximum the default maximum lump sum. So this is to help you see the correlation between your estimate and the payment instruction form. How to fill out the form. So we've already started looking at that. You'll need to know what form you need to fill out. So if you have less than 5 years, you fill out the Pence E6. For those who have more than 5 years of service, you'll fill out the form called Pence E7, which is what we just saw on that screen and what we have here on this screen. So when you're separating from service and you have run your estimates and you aren't sure yet what you want to choose, and maybe you haven't reached retirement age yet, maybe you expect to be rehired and again participate in the fund, or you're hoping to find another job and again be in the fund. You can choose to wait up to 36 months to make your benefit choice. So you can leave your pension with the pension fund for up to 36 months. It will not continue to accrue interest after your separation date, but it will be there, and if you should be reemployed and again become a participant in the fund, your participation in the fund will be deemed continuous and your pension account will just continue with that break of service that possibly happened in between. If you want to do this, if you might recall the slide that said deferment of choice, not to be confused with one of the benefit options called deferred retirement, but deferment of choice to just kind of freeze your benefit option. You don't know what you want to do yet. You fill out this first page of the payment instruction form. And only this first page. So this tells the fund that you don't want to be paid a benefit right now, and you're going to take up to 36 months to make a decision, or possibly come back into the fund if you're reemployed. However, if you separate and you do want to take a benefit, then you're going to fill out pages 2 and 3 of this payment instruction form. You'll need to know what your benefit options are based on your separation date, and you can choose only one of these tick boxes. If you fill out more than one, we'll unfortunately have to ask you to redo the form because it will not be valid if you have more than one option selected. You see at the top where the UID and the name fields are. As I said, if you take this document from your member self-service account, those will already be filled in. You can make the benefit option, but we still require you to print out the form, to sign it in ink and date it, and then to also complete page 3, signed and dated in ink with the same date as page 2. And on this third page is where you're going to put your banking details. Where do you want your benefit paid? If you are choosing a monthly benefit with lump sum, you can have them paid into 2 different accounts. You can have them paid in different currencies. Or you can have it all paid in the same bank account in the same currency. The lump sum would be the one-time payment, and the monthly benefit is going to be a monthly payment for life. When you choose whatever currency you want, just realize that you can choose from 18 different payroll currencies. The lump sum amount is by default paid in US dollars. You can choose to have it paid in a different currency, and it will just be converted by your bank at the exchange rate when it's paid. At the bottom of the form in section C, we have fields for you to complete with contact details, your mailing address, your email address, your phone number. These are very important so that we know how to reach you and where we will send your yearly proof of life document called the Certificate of Entitlement. If you move after you completed this form and separated, you can update your address with the fund so that we know what your current mailing address is and we can send you the documents. Member self-service document upload. As I mentioned, we have tutorials about how to do this, but I'll just go through it in a few slides. So we have the tab Member Self-Service Document Upload. You click Upload Document. There's a lot of information to explain to you the size restrictions and the type of files, so JPEG or PDF, that you can upload here. And this is just for returning documents. This is not where you submit any questions or anything that is expecting a reply. So this is only for submission of documents. And when you submit documents this way, you will upload them, and then you'll select from a drop-down list the type of document it is. So it could be payment instruction form, marriage certificate, ID document, etc. Okay, in this last part here, I'm going to go over how to contact the fund. If you're an active participant of one of the UN agencies that are listed below in that slide, your point of contact should be your SPC secretary for pension-related queries while you're still an active participant of that agency. If you're an active participant of all other UNJSPF member organizations, including the UN Secretariat, you should contact the fund directly with your query. Once you're separated from service, your retiree or beneficiary, you contact the fund directly as well. Now, how do you do that? You access our Contact Us form on our website. So at the top of the page on the website, there is a tab called Contact Us. So you will find the form where you will select if you're a participant, a retiree, or another third-party person. For all of us that are, you'll either be a participant who can contact us this way, not a member of an agency, or once you've separated and are a retiree, you will choose retiree, and then you'll fill in your 9-digit unique ID and give us your email address and your name, and then you'll be asked to select from a drop-down list of related topics, and the query will then be categorized based on what you've selected here. And then we already know a bit about who you are. And it comes directly to the fund where we have a ticket number for you. You'll receive notification of that. And you'll be able to already receive some preliminary information about the topic in many cases. And then you can expect the fund to write back to you at the email address that you entered when you submitted the form. We also have offices that you can consult, and at our New York office and our Geneva office, you can visit during our walk-in hours. They're listed here on our website. And we also have, of course, mail that you can contact us by mail. And we have a contact center that you can phone. Currently, they're available all day, 5 days a week during the weekdays. And our contact us form is, of course, always available. You can always submit a written query to us through the contact us form. You can always still mail anything to the fund at either the New York or Geneva address. And those are listed on the contact us page. And the walk-in hours are also made available there. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, depending on your location. The client services section also accepts requests for virtual appointments, in which case you should submit a request for that, and then one could be scheduled. Hopefully, a lot of your questions will be addressed through these town halls. And if you are in another country where you don't want to pay phone costs, we have a lot of toll-free numbers that you can call, that you can use to call the fund. The list and the numbers are also on the contact page of our website. Now we have about 10 minutes left, I think, and we have time for a last quiz question. And I hope that you've all also found the survey link so that you can complete it. You'll need to click the link and have it open in your browser before the session ends so that you will still be able to access the survey. So if we have time now for the quiz. Okay, so the question is, the UNJSPF website hosts the Contact Us form where you can find all of the UNJSPF contact channels and submit your written queries to the fund. That's wonderful. It's 100% true. So when you do contact the fund, if you could have your 9-digit unique ID, that's very helpful for us to identify your account. And if you don't know your unique ID, you can request it either from your HR or your SPC secretary, or if you need to, you can submit a query to the fund called Request UID Only. It's on our website how you can write to us for that under the member self-service page, the dedicated member self-service resource page on our website. So I believe we've come to the end of our presentation, and I want to thank you for your attention and your participation with the quizzes. and for your questions. Let's see, we had over 275 questions already answered. So thank you also to the team who's been answering all the questions. Again, just to reiterate, we have these town halls regularly, and they're broadcast on our website, for instance, I think also on iSeek. As I said, the next session will be next week, the 20th of March, on the subject of two-track. And the French version of today's session and the French version of two-track will be in April. The exact dates will still to be finalized, and invitations will be sent out and published on our website if you're wanting to attend in French. And this recording and the publication, the slide deck, will be published on the website shortly. So I guess at the end now, thank you from Dilbar and from me. And yes, and yes, my thanks to the team for their support in answering all the questions. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.